Ellsworth Bumpy Johnson preferred a straight-edge razor over any firearm. Folks often questioned his choice. Why skip the .45 automatic that every tough guy in New York packed? Why settle for a simple shaving implement instead of real heat? Bumpy would just grin and reply, "Firearms make too much noise. They draw the cops. But a blade? That's up close and intimate." On the night of March 15th, 1935, precisely at 11:47 p.m., Vincent "Vic the Blade" Romano discovered the true weight of intimate. Duke Ellington's band was swinging through quote, folk at the Savoy Ballroom when bubbly erupted everywhere on stage. Vic, a key player in Dutch Schultz's crew, had just doused Harlem's top jazz icon with $200 worth of Dom Perignon, treating him like some backyard garden. The tune ground to a halt. 200 patrons held still, and Bumpy's fingers slipped toward his belt, not reaching for a pistol, but for the razor. Right then, every soul in the Savoy realized Vic had sealed his fate. The Savoy Ballroom stood as Harlem's prized gem. Unlike the whites-only Cotton Club, where black artists performed for white crowds, the Savoy broke the mold. It welcomed everyone. Folks of all colors grooved together under one roof, breathing the same space in a fleeting pocket of fairness rare in 1935 America. Nicknamed the home of happy feet, this enormous venue stretched a full city block along Lenox Avenue, sandwiched between 141st and 142nd Streets. It featured 2 stages and a gleaming maple dance floor big enough for 4,000 revelers. That evening, Duke Ellington's ensemble had the whole place pulsing. Bumpy Johnson hadn't come to cut a rug. He lingered by the rear wall, observing, eternally vigilant. At age 28, he'd already built his name as Harlem's guardian, not via bombast or showiness, but with precise brutality and ironclad ethics. The area's policy games, its hidden bars, its entertainers, its schemers, they all operated safely under Bumpy's watch, not from coercion, but because they trusted him. He sported his usual look, a sharp charcoal 3-button suit, flawlessly fitted, crisp white shirt, slim black tie, glossy patent leather Oxfords, and tucked in his belt a bespoke holder for his razor, 7 inches of Sheffield steel, sharpened to slice a single strand of hair. Flanking him were Stephanie St. Clair, the policy boss, poised in a striking red gown, and Junie Bird, Bumpy's muscle, a towering figure known for snapping limbs. Over by the stage, Vincent, Vic the Blade Romano, held court at a table with his half-dozen Italian pals, everyone packing heat and 3 sheets to the wind. They'd been disruptive all evening. Slurs tossed just audible enough to sting, snickers at the black dancers, vulgar jabs at the ladies. Bumpy had kept tabs on them, biding his time. Then Duke reached the peak of his number, his hands dancing over the ivories, the brass swelling, the audience entranced, until Vic snatched up the champagne. He rose, uncorked it with a pop, and unleashed a shower straight at Duke Ellington. The fizz struck Duke in the midst of a phrase, drenching his formal wear, splattering the keys, stinging his eyes and features. The band stumbled, the sound vanished. Duke remained there, soaked and still, his expression locked in that guarded poise black artists adopted when white aggressors degraded them. Vic's guffaw rang out, harsh and mocking. "Dance, boy! Put on that show for your wages?" The Savoy fell quiet. Not the easy lull between tracks, but a thick, choking hush as 200 witnesses braced for the storm. Bumpy shoved away from the wall and began striding forward. His shoes tapped steadily over the slick wood. Click, 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 glossy soles meeting polished maple. The throng shifted voluntarily, clearing his path as if by divine command. Bumpy's right palm hovered at his midsection, relaxed, purposeful. Anyone there who knew his ways spotted the signal. No shooter, just the cutter. Vic was still chuckling when Bumpy arrived at his spot. The mirth faded as Vic glanced up into Bumpy's gaze. No fury, no outburst, merely a void of icy resolve, the look of someone plotting the precise degree of suffering. "Get on your feet, Vic," Bumpy murmured. No room for debate. Vic attempted a smirk, puffed up his bravado. "What's eating you, boy?" That slur reverberated through the Savoy like a thunderclap. Bumpy's eyes didn't waver. His fingers drifted to his coat pocket, slow, intentional, and withdrew the razor, sheath and all, cradling it openly in his hand, the shadowed hide contrasting his tone. "I told you to stand." Now Vic complied, while his crew groped for their pieces. "Keep your men in line," Bumpy commanded, his tone slicing the air sharper than his weapon. "If they draw, they won't stick around to rue the day." The group halted, for Harlem's tales were legend. Just last month, 3 of Schultz's collectors who overstepped, dragged from an alley with gashes across their necks. A policy courier who'd sold out Stephanie to the mob, unearthed minus his tongue. A crooked officer who'd pocketed syndicate cash to target Harlem spots, hauled from the East River bearing "traitor" etched into his torso. Bumpy Johnson never issued warnings. He delivered vows, and he honored everyone. He advanced on Vic until the scent of bergamot cologne filled the air between them, until the utter void in Bumpy's gaze became impossible to ignore. Quote 13. Bumpy murmured, his tone just above a hush, yet it resonated through the entire ballroom amid his Harlem show. Quote, "Porte Mohin." Vic attempted to muster some defense. Garochan, quote, 15, huh? A prank? Bumpy's finger slid along the razor's holster. Quote, Vic's complexion turned ashen. "That's the consequence when folks lose track of their surroundings," Bumpy added. He drew the razor free, its edge flashing under the lights. 7 inches of polished metal. "This isn't the Bronx. Not Little Italy either. This is Harlem, and here we follow codes." He raised the blade for all to witness. First rule, honor the folks around you. Second, honor the sounds. Third, the steel shimmered as he rotated it deliberately. You don't shame Duke Ellington and stroll away unchanged. Vic's fingers trembled visibly. Quote, 21. Dutch Schultz? Bumpy's chuckle cut like ice. Does that title intimidate me? Dutch Schultz doesn't control Harlem. Lucky Luciano doesn't either. Curious who does? He closed the distance further, the razor poised midway. We do. Each soul in this hall, every artist on stage, every mover on this floor, it's our domain, and they rely on me to safeguard it. Sweat beaded on Vic's brow. Quote, 24. Quote, 25. Bumpy replied gently. Quote, 26. He allowed the quiet to stretch for 3 beats. Quote, 27. The edge shifted, not aggressively, merely repositioned with ease. Yet Vic recoiled as if struck. Bumpy went on. Vic's words faltered. Option 2? Bumpy grinned, the sort that emptied guts. Option 2 means I unfold this blade and demonstrate why Harlem crowns me its ruler. He pressed nearer, noses nearly touching. And honestly, Vic, I'm eager for you to select the second. The hush enveloped everything. 200 onlookers held their breath, suspended. Only Vic Romano's labored gasps broke the tension. Quote, 33. Bumpy resumed, his whisper sharpening. Quote, 34. He spun the edge languidly, reflecting the glow. Quote, 35. He halted. Quote, 36. Vic's legs wobbled faintly. One of his men stepped forward to steady him. So, Vic, a remorseful statement or a vivid lesson? Vic's reply rasped out. Quote, 38. Quote, 39. Vic pivoted toward the platform where Duke remained rooted, observing the bizarre standoff. Quote, 40. Vic's tone splintered. Mr. Ellington, I'm sorry, it showed no respect. It was improper. Face him while you say it, Bumpy ordered. Extend the courtesy you owed up front. Vic locked gazes with Duke. Forgive me, Mr. Ellington, sincerely, it won't repeat. Bumpy addressed Duke. Does that suffice for you, Duke? Duke Ellington, Harlem's epitome of poise, a brilliant soul who'd gracefully endured white society's slights for decades, regarded Bumpy Johnson, razor in defense, and his eyes welled up. Quote, 46. Bumpy inclined his head, then faced Vic once more. The blade lingered exposed in his grip. He inched ahead. Bumpy snapped the razor shut with a gentle snap. It rang out like thunder. Quote, 49. Vic nodded wildly in agreement. Crystal clear. Now get the hell out of my face. Vic and his gang didn't bolt, but they came damn near. They strolled from the Savoy like guys heading to their graves. As soon as they vanished, the strain snapped. One person kicked off the clapping, followed by someone else. Soon, the whole ballroom exploded into cheers. Bumpy faced Duke. Let's start from the beginning, Duke. Deliver what the crowd's here to hear. Duke settled at the piano once more. His fingers trembled, not out of fright, but raw feeling. He glanced at Bumpy and silently formed two words. Thank you. Bumpy gave a single nod, then retreated to his position by the wall. Duke launched into the melody, yet now it carried a fresh intensity, bolder, more rebellious, since Duke Ellington wasn't simply hitting keys any longer. He was channeling liberty. He was channeling self-respect. He was channeling the vibe of a fellow who'd been shielded when he couldn't shield himself. The Savoy ignited. Beyond claps, it was pure jubilation. Every soul in that space grasped the significance of what unfolded. Bumpy Johnson had etched a boundary in the dirt. He'd warned the Italian syndicate, warned Dutch Schultz, warned every pale thug who figured they could seize Harlem. This turf is ours, our tunes, our heritage, our self-worth, and we'll fight to the death to guard it. Stephanie Saint, Claire approached Bumpy and brushed his arm softly. You relished that, she noted with a sly grin. I savored seeing him soil his pants. But beyond that, I savored reinforcing for everybody, including ourselves, that we aren't forced to swallow insults merely because influential folks demand it. They'll strike back. Schultz won't overlook this. Bumpy's palm settled on the blade tucked in his belt. Let him try. I'll be prepared. Vincent, Vic the Blade. Romano fled New York the following dawn. Gossip raced through Dutch Schultz's network in mere hours. Harlem was declared forbidden territory forever. Schultz attempted resistance. He dispatched additional muscle. 14 days on, their corpses surfaced in the Harlem River, blades lodged in their torsos, with a message attached to one, postage paid, return to sender. In under 3 months, the Italian outfit pulled out of Harlem entirely, not from frailty, but because Bumpy Johnson imparted a truth no business deal could. Certain domains exact a price steeper than their value, and Harlem would drain them dry. The Savoy clash turned mythic. The evening Bumpy Johnson confronted a made man armed solely with a straight razor and unyielding resolve. The evening he cemented his role not merely as a mobster, but as Harlem's guardian. Decades afterward, while Bumpy sat in Alcatraz on conspiracy charges, Duke Ellington arrived for a visit. They faced one another in the visitors' area, the artist and the outlaw, divided by a desk and years of decisions. Duke inquired. Quote, 55. He waved toward the jail surrounding them. Bumpy grinned. Duke, do you grasp the divide between a mobster and a ruler? Duke shook his head. A mobster seizes, a ruler safeguards. That evening at the Savoy, I wasn't just backing you, I was upholding what you embody, African-American brilliance that refuses to atone, refuses to yield, refuses to tolerate slights, simply because white guys demand it. He inched closer. You believe I rue it? That blade sharpened Vic Romano's vision that evening, sharpened countless visions, proved to Harlem we needn't bow to their rules, that resistance is possible, that honor merits sacrifice. Duke's eyes welled up. Do you realize what you handed me that night? You handed me honor. For the first time in my path, I wasn't creating in spite of my race. I was creating on account of it, on account of our superiority, on account of our importance. You've always been vital, Duke. I see that clearly now, thanks to you. March 15th, 1935. The Savoy Ballroom. The evening a straight razor upheld far more than one individual's honor. The evening Bumpy Johnson emerged as Harlem's unchallenged defender. The evening the Italian mob discovered certain realms defy invasion. The razor Bumpy bore that night remained with him till his end, enduring jail terms, clashes with rival crooks, years of safeguarding Harlem's avenues. And upon Bumpy Johnson's passing in 1968, that razor turned up in his pocket, edge keen, primed for action, still bearing the declaration he'd issued that March evening. You might claim Manhattan, you might claim the Bronx, but Harlem looks after its people, and anyone who overlooks that truth gets schooled the tough route, slice by razor slice. If this tale of bravery, honor, and urban reckoning stirred you, smack that subscribe key and pound that like. Pass it along to somebody who ought to grasp true command, the sort hammered out on Harlem's blocks, not picked up in corporate suites. Leave a remark. What does safeguarding your turf mean for you? Let's sustain Bumpy's heritage. The Harlem boss rose when all others held their tongues.